with Arsenal. Bruno Guimarães is almost through the door, but the superstar signing, Vinicius Junior, is looking increasingly unlikely. Our reporter Gary Cottrell is out in Dublin covering Arsenal on their pre-season tour, and he joins us now. Thanks for joining us, Gary. You've been at the heart of this story regarding Vinicius Junior. Come on, give us the latest.
Would you want the short answer or the long answer? The short answer is that Vinny stays. The long answer is that there's confidence within the club, that they had discussions yesterday. By the way, he's arrived at the training ground in Real Madrid again this morning with his closest ally, his long-term manager by his side, driving him in to the training ground. So the nitty-gritty of the reasons behind him staying are having the final touches put to them. I said this yesterday ahead of the other big hitters in transfer news, with a lot of scorn actually on social media, but I'm sticking by it. Vinny stays. A new contract will be agreed upon where compromises are made, and this saga will soon be over.
Gary, with Vinny, did you actually think it was possible, knowing Arsenal's pay structure historically and the fact that Saka is the highest paid with £300,000 a week, which is gross, to then go and give someone like Vinny the better part of 800,000 a week gross? Was that realistically going to happen?
Well, you know, as a former top player, that if a player comes in to the building who is on a massive wage, is on more than anyone's ever been on before by a big chunk, the wage structure is smashed, then other players, even though they're saying, you know, wow, Vinny's in the building, what a star, can't wait to play with him, he deserves to be the highest paid player, he deserves to be the poster boy, but not by that much. And if you're also a poster boy and a big player, and let's face it, the likes of Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice are, you're going to be, no matter how nice a guy you are, eventually knocking on the door and saying, well, there is no wage structure anymore. What about my image rights? Can I get the same kind of deal, or something like the same kind of deal that he has got? But we're told that the Arsenal hierarchy and Mikel Arteta in discussion had said, look, we'll go for it. This is a statement of intent. We know that there will be baggage that comes with it. We know that other players will be wanting to have a similar deal or certainly improve on the deals that they've got. But we're willing to take that risk because we think that that could be the missing link in terms of changing ourselves from Champions League finalists to Champions League winners. But yeah, there was going to be a lot of problems, I think, coming with a player like Vinny coming into the building with the wages that he's got, with the deal that he's got, the image rights, etc.
So Gary, no Vinny, but they're going to get Bruno. What can you tell us?
Yes, Bruno Guimarães. I mean, if you're not going to get Vinny, then you may as well go for another top Brazilian, and that's what they've done, and it's pretty certain now that deal is going to be done. My understanding is that he won't be getting on any kind of plane soon and flying from La Manga, where Newcastle are having their summer camp, and flying to London for that medical. That really is now the final piece in the jigsaw, that medical, which I'm sure, you know, he will pass, but personal terms have been agreed. We know the player wants to join Arsenal. He's told the club he wants to join Arsenal. We know that the two clubs have agreed on a fee, 75 million, but I still think it'll be a few days yet before that is signed, sealed and delivered in terms of imposing with the Arsenal shirt and giving his interviews to the Arsenal website and the Arsenal social media. But certainly it seemed like Riccardo Calafiori and the players are aware that he's coming, because it was quite funny when I chatted to Calafiori after the match against Real Betis last night. He had to check with the press officer who was standing next to him whether or not the deal had been done yet before he could talk about it. So yeah, there's a bit of a clue that it's pretty close. Got some senior players, 9 senior players waiting to join you for preparations, and potentially another top player on the way. What can you tell us about Bruno Guimarães?
Yeah, we know half of the squad is still not with us. We had 4 players joining 3 days ago, so we know the context, but that's what we have, and we have to maximize every day that we are with them. We put a lot of work into them the last 10 days. Back to London now. We're going to have 2 games at home before we play the Community Shield. So, yeah, ready for that.
But if Bruno is added to the mix, how much of a boost would that be?
I'm not going to talk about any players that are not Arsenal players.
When you go in for a player, a top player, and negotiations appear to be going well, and eventually it happens, how much of a boost is that, just generally speaking?
I can tell you the moment that something happens and we can announce it, I will give you my straight answer.
Well, Gary, you were there last night for the 3-1 defeat to Real Madrid in Dublin. How did they look? Not in great shape, considering we're 2 weeks away from the start of the Premier League season.
Well, it was very much a pre-season friendly in terms of, when a different team starts the second half pretty much to the team that starts the first half. And even the team that started the first half, which did contain some household name, which did contain some potential Champions League and Premier League starters. The Guimaraes was in the lineup, for example. Calafiori, we just spoke about, was in the lineup, for example. But there were 9 players who you would expect to see week in, week out in an Arsenal shirt, still back in London, just returning from their World Cup break. The English players, the Spanish World Cup winning players, Saliba from France, Odegaard from Norway, none of them are in the travelling party that were involved in Dublin last night. And by the end of the game, by the way, I don't know how it's actually mathematically possible, but Mikel Arteta had given 15 of his 18 substitutes some minutes, including double substitutions. For example, the 3 current Brazilians came on at half-time, then came off half an hour later and were replaced by 3 other players. So it was a pitch full of youngsters pretty much by the end of the match. So I don't think you can read too much into that result, although Mikel Arteta at the end, of course, was disappointed. He said there were too many mistakes made, particularly in Arsenal's own area.
Gary, I had a lot of people getting onto my social media this morning about Salih's performance last night. Can you tell us what it was like watching the game for the full game and not just the highlights?
Well, of course, he also had a great performance in the game before that at the weekend in Girona, which Arsenal won 4-1. He got a goal in that game, didn't he? I think, there's quite a lot of interest in potentially, how good he could be, because he wasn't a marquee signing by any stretch of the imagination, was he? Particularly when you think they're trying to bring Vidi into the same position, which, as we know now, won't happen. And his previous, I guess, efforts in English football didn't go down a storm. He didn't do that well. So I think people are really impressed by the way he's played. He certainly seems to be gelling up there. Him and Gyökeres very close together on a couple of occasions, standing over free kicks, etc. So, I think Max Dowman as well has had a couple of decent games too. So I think there is still buoyancy among Arsenal fans. And that stadium, by the way, last night was 99% red and white, because there's obviously a big Arsenal contingent here in Ireland, as well as the travelling fans being there. And for most part, until they went 3-1 down, it was pretty buoyant, but obviously by the end disappointed by the result and by the performance. But some real sparks there that potentially this one new signing so far that's coming to the building could be a good Arsenal player.
You mentioned Max Dowman there. Obviously, in that Girona game, he got a lovely assist, and he looked like he was in more of a central area. Do you think we can see more of Max Dowman this year?
They've been really careful with him, haven't they? You'll be aware of that. You'll be aware how it works. A player so young, a player who can't even get changed in the same changing room as the senior players, because you can't do that, can you, until you're 18 years old. So gradually, he's playing more and more games. Of course, he came on, didn't he, on fire. That amazing goal that he scored. You'll have to remind me who against, a goal where he ran 3/4 of the length of the pitch and put the ball in the net. So he's got a lot to live up to, but the club, I know for a long time now, for the last couple of years, have been watching him very carefully and are aware of what a great player he's going to be. So maybe in a few years' time, we'll be talking about him in the same breath as players like Vinicius Junior. But me saying that won't go down well with Arsenal, because they want to stop that kind of thing being said about him. They want to stop the circus around him. For example, you've never yet seen him, have you, do any media interviews, because the club won't allow it. He's got good people around him. He's got a good family around him. He's a level-headed lad. So he's got all the makings, as we've discussed before and as we continue to say, to become a top